The first time I was faced with the topic of organ donation was when I was watching a film called John Q. Denzel Washington played a father who went against all odds to get his son a heart transplant. It was part of what led me to become a pre-med student at Emory University. When I came across our next guest, I really developed a deeper insight into the subject that cost the lives of 18 to 20 people a day. His life was never the same after what he calls a signature moment.
Well, he knew when he chose me, he was going to choose someone that if I got better, I wasn't going to be silent. He chose someone that said, wow, I'm going to be transparent and I'm going to share, what were some of the techniques and tools that I use to try to overcome it. And I'm going to share how good God was in the process.
Go the Distance is a series that features people who have discovered how to turn their pain into power and are now impacting our world in very positive ways. I'm your host, Cherrie Garden. Today, you're healthy, energetic, and lively. Suddenly, you're laid out on a hospital bed, depending on someone else for dear life. That kind of experience can alter your perspective for the rest of your life. Let's listen to the story of how death gave activist David Manuel a new life.
I was born in Heidelberg, Germany. My father was in the service, and we moved to Birmingham, and I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. And my father served 22 years in the Army.
Wow. Yeah. Was that up until you were born or even after you were born, he was still serving?
It was up until I was born. But yeah, it was still after I was born too. Yeah, he served a few more years. 22 years is a career. Mm-hmm. And he had a career in the Army. I have one brother. I had two brothers. One passed away at 10 with leukemia. And so it's just me and my brother. And my brother is 8 years older than me.
How old were you when the other brother passed away?
I think I was about 4. Yeah. And then my parents, they divorced, I think about a year after that. When you're talking about the early 1970s or late, the 1969 to 1970, when you're talking about grief counseling and all the support that we have today, they didn't have anything that strong and that powerful in terms of dealing with loss of a loved one. And especially when a parent loses a child, that's a whole nother dynamic because we are set up to bury our parents, not to have our parents bury us. And so, that kind of support, those kind of agencies, although they existed back then, a lot of people didn't take advantage of them, especially in the African American community. We just dealt with what we dealt with and we moved on. And so nowadays we're more, prone to seeking the help, laying on somebody's couch, expressing ourselves. But when you're talking about 1970, 1969, those services sometimes weren't provided. When I grew up, I wanted to be a fireman, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to go into buildings and save lives. So it's interesting, that now my life was saved, and I'm spending the rest of my life educating people on the importance of saving lives. So I'm not too far from it.
Yeah.
I don't have the hose or the jacket or the fire badge or any of that kind of thing, but we're both making impact. I've always been a person that took your everyday challenges and tried to make lemonade out of lemons. I've grown that way, being raised by a single mom. So, the normal challenge that a young man might make, not getting on a basketball team or not getting on the honor roll this semester or whatever those challenges are, were so minor, and how I handled them was the same way that I handle challenges today. And I've had much more challenges as an adult than I did growing up. So,
Well, what was it like growing up with a single parent household? Where was your father?
well, my parents divorced when I was about the age of 5, and growing up in a just with your mom. Of course, my brother was 8 years older, and he was more the celebrity in the neighborhood, very popular. But growing up, you go through these challenges as a young man. Even when I made the basketball team, trying to get to the basketball game because my mom had to work, and sometimes she had to work 2 jobs. So I would have to catch a ride and get a ride home back with somebody else, and most likely it was with another player's. His father would pick him up or go to the game. And so not having that parent at the game to see me make a free throw or to see me even get in the game, it sets you up for this expectation in life, the disappointments that may come, but it also prepares you that sometime at the end of the day, it's about your own desire, it's about your own will. So those are lessons you don't learn when you're that young. You just experience the fact that why everybody else seems like they have a 2-parent home, and I don't. And my mom has to struggle and work hard to make sure that when we go to school or do anything else, we don't stand out as being without. And my mom did a great job because we never stood out as being, well, those are the kids from the poor family or anything like that.
So do you feel like you had a great relationship with your mom, or were there about a little, I guess you could say, season where there were challenges?
Well, I had an awesome relationship with my mom. I used to look at it like my mom was, I used to give my mom a Father's Day card, a Mother's Day card on Father's Day, because she was that dual parent role. And now that I'm an adult, it's my job, it's my honor to support and take care of my mom, because she made many sacrifices for me to be the person that I am today. And so I don't take that for granted. I'm a strong believer that you honor your parents regardless of what they do. I just happen to have an awesome mom that did a lot more, so it makes it so much easier.
David, if you could think back through your life where you were going through a very dark time or something that really challenged your being able to remain positive, or could you tell me a little bit about a situation like that?
So about 3 years ago, and I was a person who never really got sick, worked out 3 days a week. I used to think I was pretty much in shape, thought I had some guns, but
They're looking good.
well, thank you. The new and improved David. But out of the blue, I suffered an illness. I had liver and kidney failure, and it took me off my game. It took my family and friends. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what was going on. And I spent a long time in the hospital. I spent 40 days in ICU. Half of those days I was trying to figure out what was going on with my body, because I had never really been sick before, like I said before. And now I'm faced with an illness that is getting ready to take my life. And so the mental, the physical, the stress of it all put me in a position to where you have to think about what's your next step. You're raising, 2 sons. You have a great girlfriend. You're divorced. You have a great girlfriend. You got 2 sons, and you're not ready to go. You're not ready to stop being a father. You're not ready to stop being a community leader. You're not ready to stop making an impact on the lives of so many others. But you're fighting for your life. And so you have to put things in order. And that's pretty much what happened to me. So I'm here today because through prayer, through the support of others, and through something that I call, a signature moment, is when somebody else signed to say, you know what, I'm going to be an organ donor. And I'm here because somebody gave me the gift of life. And so for the rest of my life, what do you do when you get that second chance on life? Well, you want to make sure that you thought you had a great life. You want to make sure that your life is even more impactful. Not so much successful, but more significant. And so I'm at a point now where I'm walking into that. And I want to make sure that I educate, inspire, motivate, whatever, about the importance of being an organ donor. I wouldn't be sitting here today, or I didn't have a chance to move my youngest son into an apartment while he was in college, or to see him graduate from high school and go off to college, or to see my oldest son get a job and working and driving, if someone hadn't given me the gift of life. So I don't take that for granted, and I want to make sure that I share that with others.
So I want to jump into the exact scenario. What was it like for you when you were in the hospital? Because basically, let's say someone right now is watching. They're laying in their hospital bed. They think that their life is about to end.
I actually had an annual physical, which I do every year, and my physical turned out to be great. They say for someone that's in their late 40s, you got the body of a 25-year-old.
Okay.
But they checked my blood. They didn't check my urine. And these days, with the medical billing and with the way that the health plans are set up, sometimes you have to request for them to take your urine. They're going to take your blood. And so I went there, everything was great, went home that night and had a high fever, and went back the next day and say, you checked my blood, you didn't check my urine. And when they checked my urine, they looked at the color and said, you going with us, you going downstairs. And downstairs was the emergency room. And next thing I know, they were moving me over to a hospital and put me in ICU, as they were still trying to figure out. And every hour they were figuring out, my liver and my kidneys were going down in their numbers. They were actually slowly but surely failing. Experiencing a fever, there was the color of my urine had changed to dark.
Like a dark yellow or a dark...
Almost looking like tea or Coca-Cola.
Wow, that's
and
very
so
hard.
The first thing that happens to you is you think, what did I just eat? Because when you're on vitamins or whatever like that, sometimes your urine can take the color of that. And so you're thinking about, what did I eat? So instead of, paying that much attention to it, I knew I had a physical the next day. So I figured we'll find out. It wasn't until I got into ICU where I started really getting sick. It's almost like it hit me. And I think it was a combination of it being physical and mental. You asked me earlier, what does that feel like? Especially for a man when he gets that sick. Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, I tell you, it strips you of your manhood. When you think of a man, you think of someone who's strong, provide for their family, protects. But when you're that sick, you need support. You need help. You need help to walk. You need help to sit up. You need help to go to the restroom. You are helpless. You do not feel like a man. And every day that goes by, you're getting sicker and sicker. And they're taking blood and they're giving you pills. And it's a rotation. It's one of the worst rotations you can ever deal with. But at the same time, you go from a point where you could possibly bench press 240 pounds to struggling just to get your cell phone in your hand and hold it properly. That doesn't feel like a man. That doesn't feel like power. And you're dependent on someone else to support you.
When you first went into the hospital, was it a case where they knew that you were going to need a transplant even from that, or was that too early, like when they first admitted you? How did you come across that?
It was too early for that. Mm-hmm. They were still trying to figure out. They were still running tests. They didn't know. But every day, a group of doctors would come in and say, well, we're looking at your chart and we're going to run some more tests. And that went on for about 10 to 12 days, if I can, if I remember correctly. And then it got to a point to where you started seeing a change in me. You started seeing my skin turning very dark, very dark. My eyes were full of jaundice. It was glow in the dark almost. And
That's like a yellowish kind
right,
of color.
right. And so when you started seeing those changes, and then the more people that was visiting me, I noticed that their attire changed. They were coming in, visiting me one week, then the next week they had on gloves, then the next week they had on a mask, then the next week they had on a full gown with a mask and glove. And I was just getting sicker and sicker because, number one, people coming in were bringing in germs, and it's because my organs were shutting down. And so it was a combination of that. And when you're in the hospital, when you're so sick, you really don't know how sick you are, but you judge it by how the doctors come in, their expression, but you also judge it by the people that visit you. And you see people coming to visit you smiling at first, then all of a sudden you see them worried in their eyes. And then you see them sometimes putting their hand over their mouth because they're so shocked at what you look like. But you don't know what you look like. You're in the hospital. And you're kind of judging everything by the expressions of others.
So did your children come to visit you while you were in the hospital?
Yes, and that was one of the toughest things for not only me, but for them as well. Because they have grown up knowing that their dad is strong. I raised 2 football players, so I have some big boys. One is 6'2", the other is 6'3", and wrestle every time we see each other. We throwing each other on the ground. We just have that kind of unique, positive father-son relationship. And for them to see their man down was tough for them. It was real tough for them. They put on face, and they were there by my side, and they were doing the regular activities to try to cheer me up. But at the same time, they were concerned because they thought that their relationship with me was coming to an end.
So during that time that you were in the hospital, was there a point that you can remember, a particular day, that you felt like you were just going to throw in the towel, accept what the doctors may have been, the prognosis may have been?
I can easily tell you there were many times like that. My wife would tell you differently, and she was there. I was there for 40 days. She was there for at least 39 of those 40 days. And she was there with her laptop. She was trying to figure out what the doctors were saying, but she was also trying to, give me advice, like, it's not that bad, you're going to be okay. She was lying to me, telling me how good I looked in ICU, those things that, a wife would do. But she shared this with somebody that I was always very positive to others. Now, I was in a lot of pain, and so she got to see all the agitation. She got to see the doubt. She got to see the tears. She got to see the agony. But what everybody else saw was just positivity. I'm a praying person, and so prayer is essential in my life. And so I think a lot of people saw that they didn't see nervousness, they didn't see worry, but she did.
What kind of conversation did you have with God, with your wife, with yourself?
Well, for me, and everybody's different. I mean, everybody has their own relationship with God or higher being, however they want to describe it. But for me, I just had a frank conversation with God, and I told him, I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to stop being a father. I'm not ready to stop this. I got work to do. I'm trusting you. I've trusted him before in the past when I had to make a career move. I've trusted him when I had to make some really big decisions. Well, this was a major crossroad for me. And, I'm always trusting him. And so I had that frank conversation that, if you say this is my time because I was in so much pain, I will accept it because I'm just in that much pain. But if you don't think this is my time, come. It's not too late. Come, get me out of here. I got work to do.
So in the moment that the helicopter landed and you found out that you were going to get a liver, it was liver and
yes.
Both kidneys or one kidney?
It was liver.
Okay. So what was it like after the surgery? Did you instantly feel a difference in your body, or did that take a while for you to feel, I guess, back to normal in terms of flow?
Well, it took a while, so right before you have the surgery, I gained a lot of weight. It was fluid. It was the kidneys weren't functioning well. And so my average weight was about 215 pounds, and it got up to about 235 pounds. After the surgery, I didn't have an appetite. Everything made me nauseated. I just, they was pushing food at me and I was pushing it away. I was still on dialysis 3 days a week, which is a nightmare for anyone. And if anyone has never experienced, I suggest them stick their head in or go in there. A dialysis place, everyone has the same expression. It's hard because you hooked up to a machine for 3 to 5 hours, getting yourself ready for it. And so after the surgery, I lost a lot of weight because I wasn't eating. It took time. You're still on those meds, the rejection pills. You're going to the doctor every other week, checking to see how everything is going. And I dropped down to 150 pounds. So you can imagine being 215 to 150 is a total different look. It's a total shock.
Wow.
And you're also going through other things. You're going through a period of depression. You're going through, it's just imagine, losing, 70 some pounds or close to it. And you're on a walker. You're learning how to walk again. You're just not the person that you were. And mentally it's challenging. Physically it's challenging. And
how is it that you were feeling depressed when you now have a new liver?
Right. So, and that's a great question. So you get the gift of life, which is a blessing from God. You can't not thank Him and be grateful enough. But you're also looking at yourself. You don't even know how long that liver is going to last. You don't even know how long you're going to last. You don't even know what else is going to malfunction in your body. All you know is how you look. And how you look is nothing like how you used to look. I remember my youngest son, and we have this sense of humor and joke, but when he first saw me, he's like, "Dad, I'm not trying to be funny, but you look like a mutant. By your eyes, by your skin, that's what I look like." So although you've been given the gift of life, you still just don't know, because something has just broken you down to your lowest denominator. As a man, you think you're Superman. You live forever. You think if you get shot, you're going to survive. Put a Band-Aid over, you'll keep walking.
You're like Wolverine. Like
right.
Regenerate.
You'll regenerate. But when you have an organ to malfunction on you, and it changes your whole complexion, your whole perspective, you don't know. You're on a time clock, and you operate on a time clock. And I still operate on this time clock.
So how long did it take you after you left the hospital to a point where you could, I guess, let's start off with walk on your own?
Well, I could walk. I just walked very gingerly.
Okay.
I had physical therapy at my home where they was trying to get me to do leg lifts and stuff like that. After about 2 visits from the guy, I was like, I got this. Let me do it at my own pace. So I would watch TV and lay on the floor and for 4 or 5 months just kind of doing it. But 4 or 5 months almost in isolation. And I remember one time and you get depressed during that time because you're in the house. You're looking at your skin. Your skin is peeling in areas. The palm of your hand is dark.
Wow.
From the kidney and the liver. And I remember one time I told my wife, I said, "Please take me somewhere. Take me someplace in public." And we went to the mall. And I think we probably spent maybe 15 minutes in the mall. And all of a sudden, we're walking in the mall, and she looked at me, and I was in tears. And she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I was like, I ran into about 20 people that I know, but no one spoke to me. They just passed by me because they couldn't believe what I looked like. And I almost had a breakdown in the mall. I was like, "Get me out of here. Get me out of here quick," because I wasn't ready mentally. And now, that I'm much better, people look at me and say, "Wow, you look back to your old self. You look back, you look great. You look good." And I interpret that as I look God. And so when people see me now, and I've been very transparent with what I look like going through it, I accept it as my own personal praise, my own personal thank you from others to God about how I look. But it was a challenge. It was mentally, it was physically, it was very, very tough. But when you get through it, you're almost obligated to help somebody else, because you know if you went through that, how many other people have gone through that and maybe didn't have someone to explain it the way that I'm explaining it, or maybe didn't have a support system like I had a support system. Right. You know, I had loving kids, I had a praying mom, I had a loving wife, I had a devoted brother, I had so many people from the community praying over me. I had radio stations, I had TV stations, I had the Concerned Black Clergy. I had a group of people praying for me to get me better. Everybody doesn't have that. And so for the people that don't have that, hopefully I can help them in some kind of way. Hopefully I can share with them that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many people I had praying for me. It only matters my relationship with God.
So tell us about that signature moment, as you call it, when these two gifts were delivered to you.
That signature moment. You know, I'm laying in bed. I'm looking, when you're laying on your back, you're looking at the lights of the hospital. You look at them long enough, they almost illuminates the whole room. And then to hear a noise and for your nurse to come in and say, that's a helicopter with your organ on it. You're going to surgery in the morning. You're excited, but you're so drugged up and medicated, you don't express it like your family expressed it. You know, my family was very excited. My wife was right there. She was very excited. Then you start thinking about it after it, you know, after you have the surgery. You start thinking about the fact that you're here and you got the gift of life, but there's somebody else that lost someone very special. And for you to receive a liver, that means someone else had to pass away. And so you're excited about the opportunity that you get to live on, but your heart is going out to whatever happened to the person, and who is that person? And how do you find out who the person is? And how do you thank their family? And I found out who my organ people were, my organ family were. I was able to share with them. They were able to share with me. And at some day in the future, it'll go public. But right now, I have to respect the fact that they're still dealing with the loss of their child. And it's very challenging for them, but it helps them just a little bit more to know the good work that I'm doing. Because now, I'm not just doing good work for David Manuel. I'm doing good work for this young man that has allowed me to live on.
So tell me a little bit about, is there any kind of behavior or things that you were doing that brought on the organ failure, the liver failure?
You know, there's so many reasons why a man or a woman could have organ failure. It could be too much consumption of drinking, drugs, dieting, stress, so many factors. For me, it was really neither one of them. What happened to me is acute. It happens to less than 1% of people in the United States. And so when it happens to you, and when it affects your kidneys or your liver, you have to think, why me? Why is it that I'm going through this nausea? Why am I going through this pain? Why is I'm going through all the things that a sick person would go through? And then you get to a point to where you say, well, why not me? And so you get to this point where, no, it wasn't this that happened to me that caused this. It wasn't that happened to me that caused this. Whatever happened to me is now an opportunity for me to educate, inspire, and motivate other people to say, just because something happens to me, the role is, what are you going to do about it? And what are you going to do with it? And hopefully I'm on a journey that I've decided to do something with it. I decided to say, hey, I'm going to help people. And, you know, we've talked, you've seen me on the news, you've seen me be an advocate of people who are waiting for an organ, people who are waiting on the transplant list, people who are worried and concerned, people who need support. And so the programs that I put together is really about supporting people, whether it's emotionally, financially, or whatever. I have an opportunity now to pay it forward because somebody paid it forward to me. Somebody paid it forward to me recently, 3 years ago, with the family. But God paid it for us all, with the sacrifice of his son. So what do you do with that? Well, you make sure that you move forward and you share and you get interviewed and you talk to people about what do you do next? Because that's what it's all about. What is your next move? What an exciting time to have more work to do, but at the same time, give him all the honor and all the glory. I don't take that for granted. I don't take that lightly. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited just talking to you. I mean, look how many times we've probably mentioned the power of God.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I wanted to touch on too is that you look great. You do not look like a person that was on their deathbed 3 years ago, almost giving up. I mean, how were you able to rebound like that? Can you tell our viewers how old you are again, just in case they missed the first time?
So now we asked that with a female, they would never tell the age. They would never tell the age. But I will say that I am 51 and soon to be 52.
Wow.
And I just don't take it for granted. So when people say, wow, for 52, you look great. What does that really mean? For 52, you look great. I think you look great because of how you conduct your life, how you treat people, how you carry yourself.
How do you take care of yourself now?
Well, my wife will tell you that my eating habits are still not the best, but we're working on that. And last week I started working out.
Okay.
I started doing a treadmill, started lifting a little weight, not a lot of weight, but like 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. And, just trying to get back to doing the things that I used to do. So it's a number of activities that I do that requires me to do some physical work, but also at the same time, it gives me a platform to really talk about the things that are important in our community.
Something just crossed my mind, and I've had a few friends that have said to me one time when I was renewing my license, they ask you if you'd like to be an organ donor.
Right.
And a friend of mine said, you really shouldn't mark that you want to be an organ donor. You know what that means? That means if you get in a car accident and you're on the side of the road and it's a 50-50 chance about your life, they might actually not try to resuscitate you with as much fervor as they would if you were not an organ donor. What could you comment on that stereotype?
It is so important for people to know because there's so many rumors about registering to be an organ donor. I've heard them all. God will not accept you in his pearly gates if you're missing an organ. I heard that if there's a 50-50 chance, your life won't matter, but somebody else's life will, and the doctors will make that decision. And trust me, your organ might go to somebody in California. It ain't gonna go to somebody a doctor knows, because the doctor has no control over that. The doctor's job is to pronounce you brain dead. In terms of registering to be an organ donor, there's almost like a 6-step process. And you're using another organization, Lifelink of Georgia, Lifelink of America, and you have to go through that process. First, a person has to be pronounced brain dead. And then when you start looking at the organ, the hospital doesn't make the decision. That doctor does not make that decision. That doctor doesn't even have the information about, what your match would be or any of that. It's Lifelink. It's those organizations. And so the big question becomes, because those rumors are false, and also the whole rumor about God won't accept you in the pearly gates. Well, if you read your Bible right, you'll see that the first transplant happened when Eve received that rib from Adam. That's bone marrow. Oh. So when we really start looking, you didn't know that, right?
Oh,
okay.
my!
So,
I never.
But when you really start asking those kind of questions, the question you should ask is, do you want to discard your organs and let bugs, insect, worms destroy them? Or do you want to save possibly 8 lives or affect the lives of 50 plus people?
So you're bashing that rumor.
That's all it is a rumor. It doesn't work. But because generations through generations have been told that, And then our past histories have leaned itself to those kind of things. When you think about the experiment, the Tuskegee experiment, those kind of things, which were true things. And so you fast forward to today, in the mindset of so many people, especially African American people, we don't trust the process.
The Tuskegee experiment was a clinical study between 1932 and 1972 in Macon County, Alabama. Dr. Raymond Vondelaire and Dr. Eugene Dibble partnered with several higher learning and public health officials to give free health care to rural African American men. Most, if not all, were sharecroppers. It turned out that they were not giving free health care after all. They were being injected with syphilis. The researchers denied the patients any cure for the syphilis, instead applying painful spinal taps for more study. Many of the men died from the experiment without the knowledge that they even had the disease. In addition, their families were giving birth to children born with congenital syphilis. There was a movie made about this called Miss Evers Boys, starring Lawrence Fishburne and Alfred Woodard in 1991. According to Psychology Today, there is a literal black market for human hearts, lungs, and livers, with the most expensive organs being the kidneys. In many communities, specifically the African American and Asian American communities, this all plays a part in a deeper distrust with doctors. Some have strong beliefs that people of color specifically are being harvested for their organs, which was hinted in the 2017 critically acclaimed film, Get Out. The mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson in 2013 strengthens these beliefs even more, considering he was found dead with his heart, lungs, and liver missing, and his body was stuffed with newspaper. Over 120,000 patients are waiting for an organ. 18 to 22 patients a day will die while they wait. With many in the Asian community and the African American community not willing to be organ donors, it places the recipients within their ethnicity at a very high risk, as it heightens the chances of tissue rejection.
And so you grow tired trying to explain it, but you can't get tired, because for everyone that understands the importance of being an organ donor, so many lives are saved. And so you don't give up on the process. You just try to be transparent with it. And hopefully that they will investigate and see that these rumors and these myths are not what they cracked up to be. And that's all they are rumors and myths.
Press it good, man. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's it. That's it.
So with all that being said, how have those experiences impacted what you're doing today? How are you impacting the community today?
So I created the I'm a Father 5K, which is an annual event. It's a walk and run. It's about strengthening families 1 mile at a time, with a focus on health and wellness, but also with a focus on fathers, getting fathers more engaged with their families. I'm also a mentor. I'm a member of a few organizations that really focus on men being empowered. I think that men should lead. I think that men are the head. They should lead their family like God-fearing men. I feel that if you get the man in his proper lane, everything else in that family will work out. Kids will pay more attention to school, stay off the street, wife will feel protected, and the family unit will be strong if that head is in his right proper place. And so the I'm a Father 5K, which is the annual event, it's grown from 79 people to now over 1,000 people. And it's men, women, kids. It's fun. You get your blood pressure checked, everything checked. It's entertainment. And now we do it in Atlanta and we do it in Birmingham, because Birmingham is ranked number 3, was ranked number 3 in the nation for fatherless households. So when you think about things that are going on and you think about there's no dad in the household, that impacts the family. We support organizations that are promoting positivity in the lives of children. And so we have supported leadership academies, we supported other civic groups that really pour into young people. So you have this organization with the name Father in the title, but you're also supporting and helping young people. So it's almost like a father taking care of their children. The I'm a Father 5K is the platform for everything that I do. We do workshops, job fairs. We mentor fathers. We want to prepare them for fatherhood, but we also want to give them the tools and technique that they need to enhance their experience. Being a father is the most amazing job you can have in the world. Best job ever. But you got to have the tools and you got to have the preparation, because once that child comes into this world, it's on. And it's on for the rest of their lives. And so there's no taking a break from being a father. There's no taking a vacation from being a father.
So right now it's Atlanta and Birmingham, and do you have visions of taking it to other states as well?
Yeah, so we are going to slowly but surely take it to other states. Mm-hmm. Right now we want to concentrate and make sure that we make the impact positive. Every place that we take the 5K to, we partner with an organ donor organization. So in Atlanta we partner with LifeLink. In Birmingham, we partner with the Alabama Organ Center. And so that's important because I get an opportunity to stand on the stage and give my testimony, but also to dispel those myths that we talked about earlier, and to kind of educate people on the fact that you should register to be an organ donor. You can save 8 lives just like that, but you can affect the change of 50 lives if you register to be an organ donor. So that's the 5K.